Okay, pardon the headlamp. We've got a ice storm. Power's been out for 3 hours, so we're going to bleed the front brake. So I've just got a cheap bleed kit off Amazon. So you'll end up finding basically through trial and error which screw-in point fits the caliper and which one will fit the cup at the top. So very similar to Shimano brakes at the top, and then more similar to SRAM hydraulic with the screw in at the bottom. So first step, unscrew the bleed port. There's two spots. There's an air and mineral oil. I'm not entirely sure what the air is for, so we'll leave that closed. We'll undo mineral oil. Very small screw, make sure you don't lose it. There is an O-ring as well in there. It's green. I don't know if that'll be consistently green. I'm going to take that out, make sure I don't lose it. It doesn't seem to stick to the screw. Come on. So green, little at the top. Move that. Set it aside. Screw in my cap. So again, good to have a wet rag. Off video, I wrapped the bars just to shorten the video. So perfect. What I'll do is I'll add a little bit of mineral oil. So L2 shipped with this. I'm sure you could use Shimano as well. It looks exactly the same. But they give you lots. I've already bled one set of brakes with this. There's already some oil in the system, so you don't need a lot. But put a lot in, you can put it back after. Right, so put some in. Actually, we'll leave it loose. And then put the stopper in to close the system. And this goes to where it wants to rest. Just want to make sure it's not going to fall out of the cup. Perfect. All right. So then next, I'll take some up in the syringe. If you have air in the syringe, not super important. Also off video, I took the brake pads out and put the bleed block into the brake. Again, you don't want to do this with the wheel on to keep the disc clean. So what we want is the screw here at the tip. I don't know if I have the right thing. Perfect, I do. Actually, do I? This is actually a Torx. Let's see here. Torx 15 should do it. So I do find that it comes out even though you have it sealed, so just be ready. So take it out quickly, put in your put that in and you're good. Put paper towel ready. A little bit of drip. And let's give a caliper a quick wipe, won't do any harm, short period. Okay, so to bleed it, we'll just remove the stick. And then it's not super important if you have air in the syringe, as long as you hold it upward so the air never goes to the system. So what we'll do is just push back in, then making sure you don't overfill it, and also pulling back. I usually find there's air stuck in the caliper and I get a lot more air bubbles coming backwards. So the trick is you want to make sure you don't run out of oil in the cup. Then you start pulling air into the system. And also not running out in the syringe, you're not pushing air in either. Usually the front one's not too bad. We'll go one more. I'm just on air bubbles, so I just want to do one more quick one. Okay, so that should be good. Let's pull back a little bit so I don't have too much in the cup moving side to side. One thing I didn't note is there is the preload adjustment screw. Make sure it's all the way unscrewed before you begin, otherwise you won't be bleeding the full brake, and you'll have to redo it. Okay, so I've got some in the syringe, so when I go to the back, it's pretty much there. Put the stopper in, seal it, and then next we'll take the syringe out at the bottom and quickly put the screw in so I don't lose too much fluid. Okay, so okay, so we'll wipe that back down. That's all sealed off. A couple drips came out. It's fine. And then we'll open it back up at the top. Give the lever a couple squeezes. So I find with these brakes, even now, it won't feel secure. Once we get it all sealed up, it's good. So seal it back off. What's actually handy to do is just open the other one so you can transfer it right over. This one, the O-ring stayed on. And loosen this. Screwed on just finger tight, and again, I've already loosened this off. For me, it was the same bolt. The last set I had actually two different types of screws at the top. Oops. So this one, the O-ring wasn't on when I took it off, so put the O-ring back onto the screw, and screw goes in. Give it a wipe down. There's one done. So we'll quickly move to the back. So now I have to switch the bleed block to the back brake. Tray over. Everything's already out. Already have food in here. So next is to put the syringe. Should have put this in. Quick wipe down. This is a couple squeezes of the brake lever. This one actually stops way earlier than the front. I don't know why. It was the same on the other one. So now with this sealed off, pick it up. I'll go back in the container. Screw goes in. Make sure you have the O-ring. There we go. One final wipe down. Brakes are bled. Now next up, put the wheels on and... Alright, so to finish with the brakes, we'll just use the preload screw. I'll admit, I did try doing this off camera, and I've done this on one set of our decks already. Same thing happened on both. So the back brake, you feel like you could stop off just without changing the preload. The front brake, it has play right off the beginning, so I don't know if something's not coming all the way out. If I had spring or something, but this means you end up having to push the preload screw way in. And if you ever need to look, you can see the preload screw and be able to see it from there. But if you look up and in, you can see it. And then by the time you screw it in far enough where it actually comes to a stop, see here, wheel's still spinning, it's all the way in, it's not doing anything. So once you put it all the way in, it stops, you're like, good, you squeeze it a couple times and you hear this click, and you're like, I just broke the shifter. It's just, there's a nut on the other side of the carbon, and the bolt comes out. So there's another video where they just take the lever off. I went the other way and just made the hole a little bit bigger so that I could take it. You still have to take it out the back, but put it back in the front. Trying to think why not do that. I guess if it's not big enough to come out the front, then you could theoretically have it come out while you're riding. But because this still spins with it fully closed, I'm not worried about the bolt just magically falling out, right? I'm gonna have all my braking power long gone before that bolt comes out of place. Plus, you'll probably feel it if it comes out. I guess that's the other thing, although it doesn't feel that much different. Okay, so we'll adjust this now. Hopefully it works this time. So what I did after the first time was I pulled the bolt completely out, and then I just put the bleed cut back in the top and then tried to see if there's any bubbles left in. There was some, and I was able to get it tight, but I'll just repeat for this. So you just turn it clockwise and see all of a sudden after a few turns I'm actually at least able to stop here, but that, to me, that's still too far back. So we'll keep going. To me, that's good. And in the back, here it at least stops. We haven't, the preload screws all the way unadjusted. So now tighten it up. You can always have this one maybe a little bit more firm than the front. Worst case scenario, you really need just one brake to stop. Fixies will argue you don't need any, but so for some reason on both sets, the back felt way better, and it doesn't seem to be just me. A couple other videos said the same thing. I don't know why. Again, when I opened the tops of these, on the last set, the tops where the bleed ports were different. It was different bolts. I thought maybe just different versions. This set, they look exactly the same, so maybe it's not the bleed port, it's spring mechanisms inside, and the piston's not coming all the way out. But at least on the stand, now both wheels will stop, whether that's all that matters. So that's good.